Sup guys, I'm James West from Boston. I've been tricking for about 7 years, and this is a tutorial on approaching scary tricks or getting over fear for Kojo's Trick Lab.
Let's go! Let's go!
I assume that you come to this video because you have discovered that you're scared of trying a trick. For any given scary trick that you're trying, it's important to first ask the question, why am I scared? So maybe you're scared of bailing in the air and landing on your neck, or maybe you're scared that you won't take off properly and land on your neck, or maybe you're scared of a certain air position, like you're scared of tucking or something like that. Or you're scared of a certain landing, a landing that will break your ankle or your neck or something like that. First step would be to answer that question so that you can drill with that answer in mind. So when I say drill, I mean you should start trying the trick on other surfaces like foam pit to start probably, and then maybe a tumble track to a mat or an air track or anything softer than the floor that will help you just be able to do the trick without fear of whatever it is you're scared of. Because just doing the trick is how you're going to get over the fear in the end. It's not always easy to find a progression or a surface for any given trick to try, but if you can get creative and usually figure something out to get yourself to do the trick somewhere in a gym. As you're drilling, you should think about the answer to your first question, why am I scared? And try to drill with that answer in mind. So if you're trying to double back and you're scared of missing your tuck or something, in the air, which has happened before, and that's an unfortunate bail. But if you're scared of that, just practice doing double back and thinking about grabbing your tuck exactly where you should, and just rep it out until you're confident that you're not going to miss your tuck when you actually try it on the floor. If you're scared of coming out of the tuck too early and landing short and hurting your ankles, then practice on tramp to get that air awareness so you know exactly when to come out. You spot the ground, come out, land not short, not hurting your ankles. And then practice on tumble track to a mat with the same thing. Just practice air awareness. If you drill with those things in mind, you will feel more prepared to do it on the floor without being scared of those things because you've prepped it so much in other spots in the gym. Another thing you can do to help prep the trick that you're trying to do is to learn other tricks that feel similar to it or that imitate certain parts of it. So for example, if you're trying to cork in on floor, you may first want to learn full in because that feels very similar. And another trick you might want to try is swing double Arabian because the beginning of that trick feels pretty similar too. So that's just an example, but the idea is if you find similar tricks that imitate a part of the trick you're trying to learn, you'll understand the trick you're trying to learn better, and that'll make it easier to try when you want to go for it. As you're doing all this prep, one thing that helps a lot when you actually go for the trick, or before you actually go for the trick, when you're prepping, you want to check off a mental checklist that you might have in your head of questions that you have about the trick. So if it's double back, as you're prepping the tuck so that you don't miss your tuck, you're doing round off double back and grabbing your shins at the exact right spot every time. Then you can check off, okay, I'm confident I'm not going to miss my tuck. And then you drill on tramp, get that air awareness, land, standing up every time, not short. You can check off, I'm confident I'm not going to break my ankles on the landing. So just keep answering questions like that, checking off things like that, and you'll find it a lot easier when you actually want to try it on the floor because you're confident that you're not going to mess it up in any way. You've answered all the questions. So when you've decided that you're ready to try the trick, go onto the floor, make sure that do some preps. Like if you're doing double backflip, for example, I would say do a backflip. That would be a good prep. Do a few of those, just make sure they feel good. Like for example, if you were doing backflips off tumble track and then double back, think about how the backflip felt before the double back, like the good set, and make sure you have that. Once you're sure you have that, think about all the other drills you've done and how they apply to make yourself confident that you can do the trick. Visualize yourself doing the trick on the floor and landing it clean. Do that a bunch of times. That always helps me a lot. And then once you finally feel ready to actually, try the trick, just go ahead and try it. But if you don't feel like trying it quite yet, like there's no pressure. Don't get mad at yourself. Just go back to your drills and keep prepping, and maybe drill something new, or try to get even closer to doing the trick on the floor without actually doing it on the floor. Like maybe just put a mat down or something. Just do everything you can to get yourself to feel prepped. But if you can't make yourself do it on any given day, that's not a bad thing. That just means you need to put more work into it. That's pretty much the end of the process of approaching a scary trick. Just thinking about it, drilling, visualizing, and then trying it. So if you did it, good job. Here are a few tips on what not to do while you're about to try the trick. Tip number 1 of what not to do, I already said this, but don't get frustrated. Because a lot of people will try to do the trick, get super mad that they can't make themselves try it, and then just be like, I'm doing it right now, and then they run across the floor and not really thinking that much, and then they just mess it up. So, you don't want that, I assume. So if you're getting frustrated, just go do something else. Don't try the trick. Another thing that I would say not to do, this is a more controversial one, but I don't know. I do not think that you should be relying on hype from your friends or loud music or anything like that, because I think that you should probably be as calm as possible while you're trying to do a scary trick, because that's how you stay safe. So I would say just make sure you're calm and not just relying on your friends smashing the floor like that, or relying on volume 10 music from your headphones of the hypest beat you can find. None of that is what's going to actually get you to land the trick. The only thing that's going to actually get you to land the trick is your drills and your logical process of prepping the trick. So keep that in mind. The third thing not to do would be to just send it, and for relatively obvious reasons, you want to make sure that you're 100% confident in attempting the trick that you're trying to do. If you're not, then why are you trying it? So don't just send it. Send it after you're 100% sure that you're gonna land it, and then you're not sending it, you're just doing a trick that you know you can do. So don't send it, do a trick that you know you can do. There you go. One fourth tip of something you shouldn't do is go back and forth between oh, this is the one, this isn't the one, I'm not gonna do it, I am gonna do it. I think that's dangerous because it can result in you going up to do the trick and then bailing, which is generally a bad thing, actually always a bad thing. So make sure that when you're prepping, you prep, it feels good, you're sure you can do it, and then you're all right, this is the one, I'm gonna do it this time. And then you actually do it instead of being oh dude, I almost did it, no way. This is the one. No, you should pick one and then actually make yourself do it on that one, which I know is easier said than done, but one way to work up to that is to do it on tricks that scare you a lot less. If you're scared of double back on floor, then on tumble track or on some other surface floor to mat, make sure that you can, if you're a little bit scared of that still, make sure you can say okay, this is the one, I'm doing it now, and then do it, and make sure you can do that every time without waffling back and forth. So just work up to it like that, so that when you actually do it on floor, you don't sprint into your round off, go up and then bail and then land on your back or your neck or something like that. That's not what you want to see. So yeah, make sure you know which one is the one that you're gonna actually try, and then do it on that one. So that's a good tip. One thing that I am okay with and might be a good idea is if you do a countdown before the one that you're gonna actually try it on, because that just might be a good method for you to decide, all right, this is the one. So a countdown is not a bad idea. Just make sure that when you use the countdown, you actually do the trick. Like, don't do the countdown and then run up to do the trick and be like, I didn't do it. Like, make sure the countdown is like the be all end all, or it won't mean that way. It won't mean that on the floor either. Like, if you don't treat the countdown as a be all end all on other surfaces, when you try to use the countdown on the floor, it's not gonna work because your brain is gonna be like, tried that one before, didn't you? So yeah, feel free to use a countdown or anything like that. Just make sure you use it like sparingly when you actually are gonna try the trick. So yeah. Alright guys, that's the end of this tutorial. I hope it helps. I hope it leads you to try some scary trick that you've been wanting. Make sure that you're being safe out there. And thanks for watching. See you next time.